Jeez. We're really doing this whole silence thing again?
Well, we did just lose 2 people. It's only to be expected that the solemnity would increase accordingly.
And we may just lose a third at that. That is, assuming we can even identify the culprit.
Mona. Eden. Why? And just when Mona had started to walk on her own 2 feet again. How could anyone be so cruel?
I sincerely hope that's not a ploy.
It's not. Sigmund, are you really going to do this again?
If my words implied suspicion, that was not the intent. I'm merely saying that we should treat the coming hours with a suitable degree of caution. Even the most naive approach would require at least that much.
I'm sick of this. How many more of us have to die before this madness ends?
Grace, please relax yourself. What's happened has happened. Some things are outside of our control, but this, we need to cooperate if we want to make it out of here alive.
You're right. So, why does it hurt so much?
Because any normal person would be upset in this situation. Groot.
Well, let's get this show on the road!
You seem to be in a good mood.
Yeah, no shit. His subpar motive somehow worked.
But is something really subpar if it works?
Well, actually...
I didn't ask for an opinion! Aw, shucks. I can't stay mad at you guys for long. Not when you continue to impress me like this. Anyway, you should all know the drill by now. So go get your butts into gear! Chop, chop! let's begin with a simple explanation of the class trial rule.
How about no?
What? Why, you? Explaining the rules is an essential component of the class trial procedure!
It's a total waste of time.
It took Ginny?
Groot.
Before we begin, let's clear something up. If only Mona and Eden were involved in the crime, who would we vote for? Is it merely a matter of deciding who was last to die and voting for their murderer?
I'm flattered! The philosopher is asking me questions!
I sense that it would be wise to clear up this ambiguity from the outset.
Aw, how admirable! In that situation, the culprit would be either of them.
Either of them?
Hey, I'm not an unreasonable bear. I know your medical expert went and got themselves murdered, so as long as the person you're voting for has inflicted a life-ending injury, then it's all fine by me. Of course, this only applies to your specific example. If a living person was involved in the crime to the same degree, then for all intents and purposes, they are the culprit. As with most things, priority ought to go to the living.
I see. Thank you for your candor, Kilmore.
I'm not sure what that means, but flattery will get you nowhere, bucko!
Okay, that does it. This case should be easy peasy GG no re-levels of solvable.
You're going to have to break it down for me, comrade.
The slang or...
No! What makes this crime so solvable?
Weren't you paying any attention during the investigation at all?
Well, he was kind of preoccupied trying to learn how to play a card game.
What incredible priorities!
Fine. Let's do a recap, shall we? Just for you!
No objections here. What a pleasant surprise to see someone take the initiative right away.
Even a quick look at the crime will tell you it's a classic mutual killing. Isn't that right, Florence?
It's a relatively uncommon trope, but yes, that's what the setup suggests.
Let's explore this further then. Who attacked first? I believe that is a good starting point for our enquiries.
The evidence seems to suggest that Eden attacked first.
No. The evidence clearly shows that Comrade Mona was the aggressor.
Even a quick look at the crime will tell you it's a classic mutual killing. Isn't that right, Florence?
It's a relatively uncommon trope, but yes, that's what the setup suggests.
Let's explore this further then. Who attacked first? I believe that is a good starting point for our enquiries.
The evidence seems to suggest that Eden attacked
Sorry, I always wanted to do that.
Your bizarre quirks aside, did you have an issue with what I said?
Yes, I do. You said that Eden attacked first. However, that simply doesn't make sense based on the available evidence. After all, if Eden had attacked first, then how did she end up getting shot?
I'm not seeing the contradiction here, Comrade Nat. How does getting shot prove that Comrade Eden didn't attack first? Could she not have been shot during the course of their struggle?
It's not just one, but multiple problems. Let's focus on this one for now. We have a piece of evidence showing why Mona must have attacked first. This right here. For everyone's reference, Florence, do you still have your gun just before you fell asleep?
Most certainly.
But that doesn't make sense.
You're only just realizing?
Settle down, gents. Everyone, please keep in mind again that Eden is the person with the bullet wound. Now, if Eden had attacked first, then in order for her to have been shot, during their life or death struggle, Mona must have somehow gone all the way to Florence, grabbed her gun, then shot Eden, again, all while in the middle of being brutally attacked. That behavior would not just be bizarre, it's also completely illogical. It would make much more sense that while everyone else was asleep, Mona grabbed Florence's gun, then proceeded to shoot Eden. No matter which way you square it, the person who fired the gun must have taken it from Florence sometime between us falling asleep and the actual crime occurring. Again, since Eden was the person with the bullet wound, it's far more likely that the gun was in Mona's possession during the crime.
I see. And with that degree of preparation, would it be safe to assume that it would be difficult to wrestle the gun from the culprit's possession?
I think so, yes. If the culprit was already free to take the gun uncontested, it stands to reason that they had an enormous advantage in the circumstances. There would have to be a monumental error in judgment for the gun to then be taken from them.
I suppose that sounds correct.
Hold it right there!
Dash?
Ma'am, sorry, but I've had enough of this mess. Mona grabbed Florence's gun and shot Eden? How does that line up with the crime scene in any way? Ma'am, I'd appreciate it if you didn't lead us astray. I have a few problems with your reasoning, beginning with this. Why would Mona even need to use a gun in the first place? Since everyone else was knocked out, she could have had her pick of anything nearby.
Think about it logically, Dash. A gun was probably the cleanest way to commit murder. It would have allowed the culprit to kill, without leaving evidence such as bloodstains on themselves.
And what about strangulation?
Maybe that would have risked waking the person up?
Okay, let's say I grant you this. There's an even bigger problem with your theory. If Mona shot Eden first, how was Eden able to close the distance on Mona? They ended up in a physical fight after all. I mean, Mona had a gun, for crying out loud. She could have just kept firing, and that definitely would have stopped Eden.
Allow me to slice through your words! There was only one bullet loaded into the gun. Since we don't know how long it took for Eden to die after she got shot, it's entirely plausible she could have closed the distance with Mona, resulting in a life or death struggle.
I don't know.
Dash, please. I'm not even sure if this is what happened myself. All I'm saying is that we can't rule it out. If we're to find the truth of this case, we need to be able to review all possibilities.
Ma'am's point is well taken. Fine, I will concede for now.
Thank you.
Oh my. You've sure been having a field day with my pistol.
It just so happens that it's been entirely relevant so far.
Seriously, Nat?
Huh?
What's your play here?
I could have asked the same of you. Trying to claim that this case is clear-cut is nothing short of disingenuous.
Big words considering your logic still has at least one fatal contradiction in it. But what do I know? I'm just a gamer.
Fatal contradiction?
Admit it, Nat. You're entirely clueless about what happened here. 'Cause no explanation makes complete sense. Is it correct to say your strat right now is just to grope around blindly in the dark? Trying to find the explanation with the fewest holes?
That is...
And what would you have her do, Zeke? Nobody else seems to know what to make of this case either. So, if you've got something important to add, just say it.
It's okay to admit you're stuck.
Zeke?
I'm getting sick of this whole circus. Did Mona and Eden kill each other or not? Please cease with the bullshit vagaries already.
Ladies and gentlemen,
about it
I
carefully,
believe this settles it. If
doesn't
the logic
it seem
that
entirely
Natalia has
convenient
presented
that
so
this would
far
be
is
the
to be believed,
explanation?
then Mona and Eden
Eden
really
killing each
did
other
kill
like
each
that?
other.
Indeed.
Could it not have been a setup?
Comrade Mona grabbed the pistol from Comrade Florence
Isn't that
after
just
everyone fell
conjecture in the
unconscious.
absence of proof?
Then she
If
shot
you've got
Comrade
the evidence
Eden.
for that, then
But
please,
because she
show
only
us.
had one bullet,
And I'd like to know how
Comrade
one would set
Eden
up a
was able
life
to
or
charge
death
at
struggle
Comrade Mona,
between two people.
resulting in the scene that we discovered.
Ladies
you
and
think
gentlemen,
about it
I
carefully,
believe this settles it. If
Doesn't
the logic
it seem
that
entirely
Natalia has
convenient
presented
that
so
this would
far
be
is
the
to be believed,
explanation?
then Mona and Eden really
killing each
did
other
kill
like
each
that?
other.
Indeed.
Could it not have been a setup?
Comrade Mona grabbed the pistol from Comrade Florence
Isn't that
after
just
everyone fell
conjecture in the
unconscious.
absence of proof?
Then she
If
shot
you've got
Comrade
the evidence
Eden.
for that, then
But
please,
because she
show
only
us.
had one bullet,
And I'd like to know how
Comrade
one would set up
Eden
a
was able
life
to
or
charge.
death.
Hear it!
Why are you looking at me like that? I agree with your reasoning, comrade.
And that's exactly the problem. My reasoning is wrong.
Natalia!
To admit that I'm wrong, it's not a matter of personal pride. I'm beyond the point of caring about something as trivial as that. I just didn't want you all to know that there was any possibility at all that we might never learn the truth.
Nat, please, remember, our situation is about cooperation. We are all in this together, through thick and thin. You shouldn't need to try to solve this case by yourself.
You don't understand, Pierce. I'm the candidate for law enforcement. If I can't solve this crime, then what's the point of my candidacy?
Nat, that's an incredibly selfish way of looking at things.
But Pierce...
No buts. We're all members of the same batch. We are all expected to lead the world once all of this is over. We're all expected to work together, to live life harmoniously in the meantime. We are all here to contribute in some way. I'm sorry, Nat, but I cannot abide you trying to make us all redundant.
I think I can understand her dilemma. She is, after all, technically the most qualified of our batch, specifically when it comes to solving murders. If she can't, then...
But the pressure, it's just... Have you been thinking like this the whole time, Nat?
If you don't mind me asking, what is your purpose? And I'm not just directing the question at you. What is your purpose, everyone? Why are we here?
Just to suffer.
Not now, Virginia.
Well, I think Pierce said it best. We're all here to work together. I need a coffee.
Exactly. I understand that it's the conclusion that comes naturally to you. Working together. It seems like such a beautiful concept, does it not? But there's more to it than just the surface. Even if you weren't candidates, working together would still be the natural approach to this predicament. If 16 strangers were dropped into this type of situation, then cooperation would still be encouraged. But since you are candidates, there's definitely more to it than just working together.
The outside world has a habit of putting people into boxes, does it not? The warden must run the prison. The gamer must do nothing but play video games. The philosopher must continue to be a nonsensical buffoon.
That was uncalled for.
So you see, Natalia, I understand your inclinations. The pressure that we've all faced as candidates. But you're never alone. So please stop acting like you are.
Mina.
See? That wasn't so hard, was it?
Shut up, Zeke.
So to return to the topic at hand, what's wrong with your reasoning exactly?
Of course, Nyan. Let's go back to my theory. If Mona had been awake, having set up the crime, and she grabbed the gun from Florence, then shot Eden, after which Eden then charged at Mona and they fought hand to hand, why then were there no blood stains outside the area immediately around their bodies? In fact, the evidence shows that after the first wound was inflicted, Mona and Eden barely moved at all.
That's a good point.
Based off this information, we can also infer that from the moment one of them started bleeding, it would have been impossible for that person to then retrieve the gun. The blood trail would have given it away, and yet there were no signs any blood was wiped away. So, it only makes sense that the fight began with the gunshot.
Just on this charging theory of yours, was it not possible for Mona to have simply walked up with the gun, pressed it against Eden, then pulled the trigger? Then there would have been no need for Eden to close the distance with Mona.
And therein lies the other problem. What would be the purpose of a gun if that's what you were going to do? For one, that would leave bloodstains on you while also removing your distance advantage. Moreover, it would leave you vulnerable to being disarmed. I just don't see the culprit acting so carelessly in the circumstances.
Perhaps Comrade Mona may not have been confident in her aim.
If this were anyone else, you may have a point. But Mona was the ultimate weapons master.
When it boils down to it, it's all just conjecture. I can see why you were having such a hard time.
And just considering the other possibility, the one where Mona shot at Eden from a distance, wouldn't that imply a certain detail about Eden's state at the time the bullet was fired? Actually, would the whole setup not imply something about Eden's state?
Oh, I think I understand what you're trying to say.
Now, line it up with this if you will. Let's assume Eden was seated when she was shot. Where would Mona have to be standing in order to take the shot? Right here!
Sorry, Natalia. I'm not quite sure what you're getting at here. Why would it matter that Mona was firing from here?
I think you can be forgiven for not noticing the small detail. Think. We were all knocked out at the time of the crime, which means we would have been lying down on the table, correct? However, for this theory to work, Eden would have to be... Take this! Eden would have to be sitting upright when the crime occurred for the shot to be taken. And given the time it would have been taken to grab the pistol...
Wouldn't this mean she had a way to avoid getting drugged?
Exactly. And from this, a whole other level of problems emerges. Because she wasn't drugged, Eden would have been conscious at the time of the murder. And I think it's safe to assume that she wouldn't just sit there obediently while Mona went to grab a gun. Additionally, would Hunt not have been splattered with blood? This And the fact that the blood splatter was confined to such a small area, away from the table, casts a huge shadow over the theory that Eden was completely unaware of what was happening to her when she was shot. Before the shot was fired, one of them must have pulled away from the table, with the other following. Both of them were completely alert during the crime.
For simplicity's sake, could you please go over the possibilities we're exploring once again, Natalia?
Not a problem. There's two main explanations under the Mona-Eden angle. They both begin the same way. Mona grabs the pistol from Florence. In the first explanation, Mona shoots Eden at point-blank range. However, this doesn't make sense, because it would have left evidence behind to incriminate Mona, such as blood splatter. It also nullifies the distance advantage that a gun would provide. A possible explanation may be that Mona was okay with getting caught, but that itself raises further questions, and it's not even touching on the issue with the blood found at the scene. Alternatively, Mona may have shot Eden from a distance, through her side. However, this explanation only works if Mona then physically walked up to Eden, and they then fought to the death. And in both cases, Eden would have already been away from the table, for whatever reason.
Perhaps Eden was trying to flee when she noticed Mona going for my gun.
Possible. But even then, after firing the shot, Mona would have had no reason to approach Eden to initiate a physical altercation. After all, Eden would have been mortally wounded at that point. As we've discussed, there is no evidence to suggest that either Mona or Eden had ever left their immediate area once blood had been spilled. The emphasis is on the last key phrase. Once blood had been spilled. We can only speculate as to their movements before the first wound was inflicted.
So both explanations are riddled with logical inconsistencies.
Say, for the second explanation, where Comrade Mona initially shot Comrade Eden from a distance, maybe Comrade Eden was playing dead after being shot, and that's why Comrade Mona saw fit to go back.
Are you kidding me right now? Playing dead? After getting shot like that? Have you ever been shot, Hunt?
Of course I have.
Why did I even bother?
To be honest, it's arguably a stretch to even say that Eden would have had the strength to fight back. I've been shot with a protective vest on before, and even then, I was stuck on the floor for a while before I felt I could move again.
Adrenaline can be a very powerful thing.
It seems we've waded into some kind of logical purgatory here. All explanations are flawed, but with just enough credibility that we cannot definitively rule them out.
Human irrationality remains a powerful wildcard as always. With the benefit of hindsight, it's so easy to conclude that something never happened because it is illogical. Frankly, this is how mysteries work in the real world, and why the principle of beyond reasonable doubt exists in criminal law. For the vast majority of cases, it is impossible to prove something beyond all doubt. If you think about it, we've gotten remarkably lucky with the last two murders.
Yes. And this is why you should feel no shame in admitting you're stuck.
Nat, I just want you to know, I don't think you're stupid. What you were doing earlier, it was willful ignorance. You just wanted something simple, not the truth. Not a situation where everyone could be a suspect.
It hurts to hear you put it that way, but you're not exactly wrong.
And why don't we lean into that a bit?
Lean into... What do you mean?
What if everyone could be a suspect?
That would make even less sense. I've considered that maybe this was a setup, that somehow Eden and Mona were actually both murdered by someone else, and then their bodies were altered in such a way as to make us think they attacked each other. But no, I'm certain they attacked each other. And that's notwithstanding the lack of blood anywhere else in the room.
And what was stopping our culprit from just cleaning themselves off?
There wasn't a single drop, Zeke. Not one. Even an expert would have trouble cleaning up after themselves so masterfully. Especially after a double murder like that.
I hate to tell you this, Nat, but thinking outside the box may just be the only way we can do this.
Zeke.
Hey, I'll even help you. There's a gigantic piece of evidence staring you right in the face. One that shows that at the very least, there was a reason for someone to commit a double murder.
Take this! Zeke, are you saying that the motive itself shows that there's more to this crime? After all, every motive has been definitively linked to every murder so far. In this case, a mutual killing would leave no one to claim the benefit of the motive.
True, we're kind of metagaming this a bit, aren't we?
Hey, Kilmore. In the case of a mutual killing, could one of the culprits delegate a person to escape in advance? Then if we never find out it was a mutual killing, would the delegated person then be allowed to escape?
Nah.
That's it?
I have to admit, the idea does sound suitably spicy. But there's no way I'd allow something like that. No, the culprit has to be alive during the class trial in order to delegate someone. Specifically, after the other participants vote en masse for the wrong person. Such easy escape would go against the spirit of the motive.
Now that's a sudden burst of energy from someone who's been awfully quiet this whole time.
Aw, shucks. I didn't realize you missed me that much. But really, it's just fun watching you all squirm. I don't even need to do anything.
Zeke, are you sure about your approach? It's likely that it'll only make things even more confusing.
So we shouldn't explore other possibilities? Just because we haven't finished with the stuff we're already looking at? What kind of detective strat is that? It's something that would win maybe 20% of games at most. I'm not guaranteeing this'll go anywhere. It's not like I know more than you do. But if we've got a chance, might as well, right?
Take this!
Comrade Natalia, why are you pointing at me?
3 for 3. If this were a novel, someone must really dislike you.
You can't be serious.
I'm sorry, Hunt. It's nothing personal. I just think it's important to branch out our understanding of this crime. Namely, we need to ask if it would have been possible for someone other than Mona and Eden to have been involved in the crime. The next most logical stop would be the narrator.
Oh, poppycock. Are you seriously accusing me of a double murder just because I was the narrator?
Notwithstanding the issue with the blood splatter, you were best positioned to take the shot.
And being the narrator is a bigger deal than you might think. For one, you were able to keep your blindfold off when everyone else fell asleep.
Did you see anything suspicious, Hunt? Anything at all?
No. I fell asleep just like the rest of you.
There's gotta be a better way to do this.
Conjecture on top of conjecture. This is the unfortunate reality with which we are faced, I'm afraid.
Indeed. But I see no harm in eliminating the most likely suspect first. That is, if you are in fact innocent.
Hold it right there! What's this? Another split opinion? I've been waiting for this moment!
Hunt, I want to believe in you. And I know I'm not alone. So please, if you are innocent, let's allow the facts to bear that out.
Comrade Natalia.
No more delays will be tolerated. Now, have at it!
Hunt was the narrator, which means he had a direct advantage relative to the rest of us.
Narrator or not, it's just as likely that he also fell asleep. There's no evidence saying otherwise.
But if you look at the diagram, it's obvious that Hunt had the clearest shot.
Having the clear shot doesn't matter if Eden wasn't shot at the table to begin with.
But considering Hunt's size, he could have easily moved the bodies and staged the scene.
There's no evidence at all to suggest that the scene was staged.
But you have to admit, at the end of the day, he's more suspicious than everyone else, isn't he?
Being more suspicious doesn't mean we should jump to accuse him. The reality is that none of the evidence we have is decisive. Sorry, Hunt. I kinda took you for a ride there, didn't I?
To point the finger at me, but then jump to my defense? What am I even supposed to make of that, comrade?
The purpose is elimination. If we're to look beyond the possibility that only Eden and Mona were involved, we need to start somewhere.
And you gotta admit, evidence or not, you're kinda the most sus.
I suppose I can live with that.
Well, Natalia, was your goal achieved?
In a way, progress has been made. Natalia has shown that the weight of the evidence suggests that Hunt is no more guilty than any of us.
So, this whole endeavor was entirely pointless then?
I beg to differ. Thanks to our efforts, we're now seriously considering the possibility that someone other than Mona and Eden may be the culprit.
And yet, we've discovered absolutely nothing to that effect. Your efforts were admirable, Natalia, but this is the last place where you should be sugarcoating reality.
Why don't we take a step back?
Funny you should say that, given we've been doing nothing but taking steps back.
I mean, why don't we reframe the way that we look at this crime? To this point, we have focused our questions primarily on what happened between Mona and Eden during the murders themselves, as well as the possible presence of a third party at that time. Who attacked who first? What was the role of the third party during the crime? How were they able to stage the scene in such an elaborate and seemingly impossible fashion? Perhaps we should stop to consider that these may be the wrong questions, at least for now.
So, you're saying we should look at this incident with fresh eyes?
I'm sorry to throw this back to you, Natalia, but we've officially exhausted all other avenues.
Sigmund. together. Nina-san! I think I've got an idea of what our focus should be going forward.
Those eyes, filled with such determination. Please proceed, Nat.
I believe we may have missed a step at the very start. Namely, to fully uncover what happened during the crime itself. Would it not make sense to also look at what happened before the crime?
Before the crime?
First of all, what triggered the crime? I have a theory in mind for that. Namely, that the culprit failed a certain game. And as a result, their psyche was overwritten.
Oh? What's this game you're talking about?
The killing game, of course.
Well, that goes without saying, doesn't it?
Anyway, what Ma'am is saying is that one of them was no longer themselves?
How horrific!
Given that they're both dead, we might never know for sure. It could just be one of the more palatable explanations for why one of us would do something like this. However, as you would recall, failing the game also produces a certain tell. I believe that tell is memory loss.
But that would mean...
Yes. This person must have attacked first. Take this!
Eden? But why would she...
As I said, if my theory is correct, then Eden was no longer herself. An overwritten psyche could realistically be capable of anything.
How ironic. The humanitarian psychic brutally murdering the serial killer.
Strange thing to say, but okay.
Well, I am a crime fiction novelist after all. Such murderous irony tends to stand out.
I hate to rain on your parade, Natalia, but your answer just seems a bit obvious, doesn't it?
Maybe so. But as I think we've all just seen, that doesn't mean that this approach is the exact way we were thinking about the crime before, and a typical murder, let alone a double homicide. It's not unusual to be bombarded with an overwhelming mountain of evidence. It is a skill to identify the pieces of evidence that are most relevant to the crime, and to then connect them together. Even if in hindsight, you could say, well, that seemed obvious. In context, that doesn't make it any less of a complicated task. To make assumptions is normal, and sometimes those assumptions lead us astray, or give us an incomplete picture.
Still, the memory loss angle borders heavily on conjecture. Assuming that's even the side effect to begin with.
I was waiting for you to say that, Sigmund-kun. Here's something more concrete. The culprit would have had the power of knowledge, correct? Since they engaged Kilmore to provide them with a sleeping drug, they would have known exactly what to do to avoid being drugged. If we read this intent into their actions, I think the answer becomes clearer.
So Natalia is saying that the murder was premeditated, and because it was premeditated, the killer was able to adapt accordingly?
And yet, both Mona and Eden were acting strangely during the party.
If it's a question of suspicion, Eden ate all the food and played the games with the rest of us. There was nothing abnormal about her behavior.
On the other hand, Mona was refusing to eat, drink, or even so much as touch anything.
Does this mean the drug was in the food?
Eden ate the food, though.
Then it just means she was drugged with the rest of us, and woke up because she was attacked. Comrade Eden can't have been the aggressor.
So Natalia is saying that the murder was premeditated, and because it was premeditated, the killer was able to adapt accordingly?
And yet, both Mona and Eden were acting strangely during the party.
If it's a question of suspicion, Eden ate all the food and played the games with the rest of us. There was nothing abnormal about—
No, that's wrong!
Oh, Nat. Was something wrong with my reasoning?
Yes, and not just you. The flow of the argument just then actually lends more credence to my theory. First, to your point. As you observed, Eden went directly to a spot on the table and took a seat. Is this not incriminating, given what we know of the culprit?
That they had a knowledge advantage? Something as simple as choosing a spot at the table, though.
With new knowledge, something that initially seems innocent may take on a different meaning. This situation requires constant adaptability with our thinking.
I think I understand the other problem you were trying to point out. Mona was refusing to eat or even touch anything at the party. At first glance, this might seem equally incriminating. But in reality, this actually shows that she didn't know anything.
That's mostly correct. But it would be more correct to say that she knew almost nothing. It's clear that she knew something was going to happen at the party, and this piece of evidence proves it. This, right here. Mona's words. She knew something would happen, but she didn't know what. With this in mind, her cautious approach starts to make a lot more sense. The key point, though, is that she was clearly not the culprit. At least, in the sense that she was not the person who premeditated the crime.
One thing I still don't understand, though, is how were we drugged then?
This requires some more unconventional thinking. If we suspect Eden, then we need to look at what she had control over. If we combine this with her behavior, then what this line of reasoning tells us is that the sleeping drug was planted here! The drug. It was planted on the playing cards. That would explain why Eden chose to sit at a specific spot.
On the cards? But I was certain they were planted in the food.
Well, at least the culprit had an ounce of common decency.
But, it's not like any of us ate the cards either.
Consumption isn't the only way for a drug to take effect. It's highly likely that Kilmore's drug was absorbed through... Take this! The sleeping drug was specially designed to be absorbed through touch.
Is that true, Kilmore?
Probably, I guess?
It's your drug!
Yeah, but it was still experimental, so... Aw, who am I kidding? Yep, my special brand of Kilmore sleeping drug is designed specifically to be absorbed through touch. That quality came highly requested.
So Eden specifically asked for a drug that could be absorbed through touch. That also explains why Kilmore had to remove the drug from the scene afterwards.
Bingo! Let it not be said that I am incapable of compassion. Imagine how much precious investigation time would have been wasted if you all took turns napping.
You just didn't want us to find out how we'd been drugged.
Do you have something to say, Zeke?
Hold on just a second. I get that Eden was acting sus, but aren't we jumping too quickly to conclusions here? Sure, Eden got to choose her own spot. Big whoop, maybe she divined it or something.
And are you saying she divined her memory loss as well?
You have to admit that could have been a ploy.
What would be the purpose, though? No matter how you look at it, Eden's behavior was suspicious.
And how about Mona's? Only Miyu was watching her after all. The way I see it, Mona definitely knew something. And she could have been feigning ignorance to throw us off. Sure, Eden got to choose her own spot. Big whoop, maybe she divined it or something.
And are you saying she divined her memory loss as well?
You have to admit that could have been a ploy.
What would be the purpose, though? No matter how you look at it, Eden's behavior was suspicious.
And how about Mona's? Only Miyu was watching.
I shall turn these words into the truth! Hold it right there, Zeke. It wasn't just you watching Mona. I was as well. And I can say definitively that Mona didn't know it was specifically drugged.
Really now?
Yes. I saw Mona not touching her card during our card game. Or even so much as consume any food or drink at a party she herself requested. If she'd known that the food or drink wasn't drugged, wouldn't she have consumed them to maintain appearances? As it stands, her behavior would have made her stick out like a sore thumb. Moreover, if anyone had noticed what she was doing, would suspicion not have quickly fallen on the cards? At that point, the fact that she did not touch her cards would have served to intensify the suspicion on her.
That's still a tad incomplete. You're assuming a lot of things, Nat.
Like what?
Like the killer was trying to get away with their crime. But don't worry, Nat, I was merely jesting.
Huh?
I'm not stupid. Whether she got pwned by that game or not, Eden was still the ultimate psychic. If she were really Inno, then I'd get a refund on her powers if I were her. After all, what kind of OP psychic powers would trap you in a 1v1 against a prepared murderer?
That's a fair point.
I'm not about to entertain this line of reasoning further. We never figured out the extent of Eden's psychic powers after all. And what I do know is that we have irrefutable proof that these powers cannot account for all life-threatening possibilities, given she is now deceased.
So basically, culprit or not, her powers failed her in some way.
Well, anyway, I'm inclined to fully agree with Natalia's reasoning for now. Let's say Eden premeditated this whole murder, her motive being that she was mind-altered or whatever. She avoids taking the sleeping drug because she knows exactly how it's been used, methodically sits in a spot, somehow doesn't fall asleep, all the usual. What now?
Pardon?
What have we actually learned? Come on, Nat. We've gone back to the very start of the crime as you suggested. And we've uncovered this new piece of information. Surely, this wasn't all a waste of time?
It wasn't.
I knew it! So should I go ahead and vote for Comrade Eden?
No. This new fact has actually revealed the true culprit of this crime.
So, Comrade Eden?
Hunt, would you kindly just shut the fuck up? I mean, please proceed, ma'am.
Think about it. No matter how we look at the crime, we've never been able to line up the facts. With our assumption that only Eden and Mona were involved, there was always a contradiction.
Contradiction? Oh, are you talking about the bullet wound?
Sure, let's go with that. If Eden did indeed attack Mona first, then it's now officially impossible for only them two to have been involved. For there to have been even a remote possibility of explaining this crime with just Mona and Eden, Mona must have attacked first. Otherwise, we're left with a literal bullet-sized hole in our logic.
And that's not all, isn't it?
There's even more?
What would happen if we were to remove the bullet from the Eden-Mona equation? I think you'll find that suddenly, everything falls into place. Because with Eden being the aggressor, we now know that there was only one way the gun could have been used. Think back to what Eden and Mona were doing when the third party struck. The answer should become crystal clear to you off this.
No way. It couldn't be.
Are you kidding me right now? But why them?
Yes, the true killer in this case is... It can only be you!
Comrade Pierce! What? Why?
What an incredible turn of events!
Please, if you're really innocent, just say something!
I'm disappointed, Nat. The right to silence is recognized in all global jurisdictions. You and I both know this.
And as a lawyer, you should also know that in some jurisdictions, an inference of guilt may be made from an accused silence.
So, you've been reading up. How admirable. It remains patently obvious why you were chosen to lead the great family of law enforcement.
Why, Pierce?
The motivations of a murderer, huh? Well, I don't really know what else to say. Other than I didn't do it. And because I know I didn't do it, the evidence against me is bound to be flimsy.
Allow me to present my first finding. Based on what we know, you were best positioned to carry out the crime because... Take this! You were right next to Florence. This means using the pistol was simply a matter of reaching over, taking it out of Florence's pocket, and firing it across the table.
Just so we're clear, Natalia, there does not appear to be any lawful grounds whatsoever for your suspicion.
She just provided a fairly compelling reason, did she not? All you had to do was pickpocket my gun.
And why couldn't Virginia have stolen your gun? She was also sitting next to you. If you think back to the crime, there's nothing indicating that it had to be me who fired the gun. Nor is there anything decisive to show that I took the gun to begin with.
The answer's right here, Natalia. You just need to face it side on.
Just so we're clear, Natalia, there does not appear to be any lawful grounds whatsoever for your suspicion.
She just provided a fairly compelling reason, did she not? All you had to do was pickpocket my gun.
And why couldn't Virginia have stolen your gun? She was also sitting next to you. If you think back to the crime, there's nothing indicating that it
No, that's wrong! Pierce, based on what we know of the crime scene, only you would have been capable of firing the gun.
And why are you so confident that it can only be me?
We've previously litigated the fact that Eden was shot from her right side. That was part of our basis for accusing Hunt, was it not?
I'm still not seeing it, Natalia.
Ignorance doesn't suit you, Pierce. Indeed, the evidence is clear. Eden was, in fact, shot from her right side. However, the information that we have uncovered brings a whole new layer of meaning to this fact. Right here. Since Eden was attacking Mona, she had to have been facing her, correct? Which means that her right side
was pointed towards myself? I have to admit, if that's correct, then it would make for a rather compelling theory.
I've had enough of this shit. Why are you acting so smug even though you're obviously the culprit? Just hurry up and confess already.
Dash, it hurts to hear you speak like that about me. But really, don't you think you're jumping to conclusions here? How do we know for sure that Eden was facing Mona for the entirety of the crime?
Also a good point.
Just whose side are you on?
Come on, Pierce. No one's gonna do a random 360 in the middle of stabbing someone.
A 360-degree spin would merely reset your orientation.
I knew that.
And clever use of fallacious reasoning, using hyperbole to obfuscate sound logic. Admit it, even something like a 90-degree turn would have been more than sufficient. It's a knife fight we're talking about.
But you can't deny that the orientation Natalia pointed out still makes the most sense based on what was happening at the time.
And at the end of the day, it's still conjecture.
Pierce, listen to me. Knowing you, I'm sure you had a good reason. So please, just drop this whole charade.
Knowing me, huh? I sincerely doubt that.
Pierce?
No one, not a single person in this entire forsaken world has ever truly known me. I wouldn't expect a bunch of robots like you all to understand that as a human, I'm not in the habit of admitting to crimes I did not commit.
It's still not too late to make sure everything turns out okay.
Grace, we're talking about the punishment being execution.
That's not what I meant.
Comrade Grace, your misplaced faith is admirable as always.
It seems admirability comes in different shades.
Indeed. Instead of admitting to the truth, it seems that Pierce is rather content to make an enemy out of us.
So let me see if I'm getting this straight. Pierce woke up to see Mona and Eden fighting each other. In his haste, he grabbed the weapon closest to him, being Florence's gun, and he fired it at Eden. Am I correct?
We don't need to go over the facts ad nauseum. We get it already.
What's the problem with that?
Ah, a chance to play devil's advocate emerges. But I can feel your resolve. I look forward to hearing your explanation. Nat, I'd like to point out that in order for Pierce to have intervened in this crime, he needed to have been awake while it was happening. To borrow your words, how could this have happened without any prior knowledge of the crime?
That's right. He must have known about the sleeping drug on the cards. Then he used that knowledge to deliberately avoid the drugged cards.
But there was no way for him to have known what would happen during that game.
Not to mention, he showed no signs at all of knowing something was wrong at the party. He ate all the food, he touched his card. Did he use hacks to avoid falling asleep or something?
Nat, I'd like to point out that in order for Pierce to have intervened in this crime, he needed to have been awake while it was happening. To borrow your words, how could this have happened without any prior knowledge of the crime?
That's right. He must have known about the sleeping drug.
No, that's wrong!
Natalia, was there something wrong with my statement?
I understand you were trying to apply my logic just then. Honestly, at face value, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. The killer had to have known about the cards in order to avoid getting drugged. The technique of drugging the cards through a deception game of all things makes that an inevitable, correct conclusion. However, there is one exception.
Well, do share them.
The necessity of knowing about the drug does not exist where... Take that! What if Pierce's card was simply not drugged? It would explain why he wasn't asleep, would it not? In fact, given the rules of the game, I'd go as far as to say that Pierce must have been... Take that! Everyone, what if Eden had arranged for the League of Bobbering cards to be untainted? Then, when nighttime came, only she and the other member of the League would have awakened.
That seems like a rather disingenuous assertion, given that Mona was the other League of Bobbering member.
Was she, though?
Oh?
This right here. Ever since I saw this piece of evidence, something was bothering me about it. And with the new discoveries we were making in this trial, that feeling only grew stronger. Now, I can finally verbalize my thoughts. What we have here is actual definitive proof that Mona's card was switched out.
I'm not seeing it.
Think about it like this. Mona never touched her card, correct? Why then is there a blood smear on it?
Are you serious, comrade? Mona and Eden were struggling for their lives, so...
Got it. Please carry on, Nat.
That aside, while it might not seem out of place for a blood smear to be on her card, the nature of their violent struggle makes this contradictory. There was no sign that the card was bent or otherwise damaged in any way. But to make a smudge like this, something with a trace amount of blood must have been pressed against the card. Say, a finger, for instance. And on top of that, something must have wiped the initial bloodstain to leave the smudge. This should now go without saying, but why would either Mona or Eden press a bloody finger to the card, hold it down while wiping it so that the card wouldn't move, and leaving a smudge, all in the middle of a life or death struggle? In fact, we've already established that their struggle was away from the table.
Just to confirm, how would Mona have known to wake up if she never checked her card?
The answer is simply that she didn't. Regardless of what happened, she was planning to wake up during the night phase.
But her card...
I was just getting to that. It was a clever deception on the part of the culprit. All they would have needed to do was... Take that! The culprit switched their own card with Mona's. Since Mona was dead, there would be no one to counterclaim her role.
Just like in the last killing game.
It would also explain the blood. After all, it's completely plausible that the killer accidentally transferred blood onto the card, while switching their card with Mona's. Then realizing their mistake, they smudged the bloodstain to avoid leaving a clean fingerprint.
And that's not all. What we also learned is that the other evil edgelord was Eden's intended target all along. Her plan was to kill whoever woke up with her when everyone was knocked out.
But that's a whole other level of messed up. This can only mean that she wanted to see her victim suffer.
What makes you so sure, Comrade Dash?
It's obvious, isn't it? If she really wanted, she could have just drugged every card but her own. Then she would have been able to kill whoever she wanted while everyone else was knocked out. It would have been so much easier to commit the murder that way. Why else would she want the victim to be conscious while she murdered them?
Maybe she couldn't stomach the idea of choosing who to die. So she left it to chance.
Grace.
Because if everything can be taken away just like that, then...
The fact of the matter is that we're now claiming that Pierce, her intended target, somehow ended up murdering the both of them.
Thank you, Virginia. Such robotic reasoning could never stand in a court of law. All you've been doing this whole time is piling conjecture on top of conjecture.
As you'd know, Pierce, most cases are actually solved by the sheer volume of circumstantial evidence. Certainties are rare in life, more so when it comes to matters of crime.
How very poetic, Natalia. Tell me, where do you get your motor oil from?
I'm not a robot!
And yet, your reasoning seems awfully repetitive, with little substance. It's almost starting to grate. Allow me to put an end to this whole charade. I'll show you the true power of full lethality! entire reasoning has been flawed from the start! I shot Eden because she was wounded through her right side. The side that she was shot through proves absolutely nothing! Are you seriously saying neither her nor Mona ever changed their orientation?
Yes, but you were right next to Florence. All you had to do was reach over and grab her gun.
And so could Virginia. So could anyone in our general vicinity. A diagonal shot across the table could have easily yielded the same result. And don't even get me started on your card swap theory. I'm surprised you haven't noticed the massive hole there.
Being?
Anyone could have done it. There was no smudge on mine or anyone else's card. Only Mona's. Hardly a smoking gun. And if the stain was truly left by the culprit and not by Mona, why didn't the culprit just wipe the card clean? Why not just wipe it on someone else's clothes to frame them? Why leave a stain at all?
What if the culprit ran out of time?
Now you're really grasping. With everyone else knocked out, the culprit had an abundance of time. Must I keep repeating myself? You have no argument! Your entire reasoning has been flawed from the start! I shot Eden because she was wounded through her right side. The side that she was shot through proves absolutely nothing! Are you seriously saying neither her nor Mona ever changed their orientation?
Yes, but you were right next to Florence. All you had to do was reach over and grab her gun.
And so could Virginia. So could anyone in our general vicinity. A diagonal shot across the table could have easily yielded the same result. And don't even get me started on your card swap theory. I'm surprised you haven't noticed the massive hole there.
Being?
Anyone could have done it. There was no smudge on mine or anyone else's card. Only Mona's. Hardly a smoking gun. And if the stain was truly left by the culprit and not by Mona, why didn't the culprit just wipe the card clean? Why not just wipe it on someone else's clothes to frame them? Why leave a stain at all?
What if the culprit ran out of time?
Now you're really grasping. With everyone else knocked out, the culprit had an abundance of time.
No, that's wrong! Pierce, did you just say that the killer would have had plenty of time to cover up their crime?
Natalia, you're not about to deny reality again, are you?
Funny you should say that, Pierce. I was about to ask the same of you. Let's reframe our perspective and put ourselves in the shoes of the killer. They've just woken up and shot Eden. Everyone else is asleep, so they start covering up the crime. Our mistake with this particular line of reasoning is we've been imposing what we already know onto the killer's actions.
Come on, Sigmund. If you've just figured it out, then don't keep letting that do all the heavy lifting.
Of course. The killer was missing a critical ingredient. An ingredient that Eden, the person who originally orchestrated the deed, had in her possession. The ingredient of knowledge.
I'm still struggling to comprehend this.
Think about it like this, Miyu. You know that you're a member of the League of Boberin. Ergo, suspicion would fall onto you once the crime was discovered. After all, the crime occurred just when the members of your faction were due to wake. However, you also realize that two other people, Eden and Mona, were awake. Knowing that you're the second member of League, you think to yourself, one of them must be a town player. And since you saw Eden attacking Mona, it made sense that you would check Mona's card first. Upon confirmation of her role, you make the swap. But then you also realize you've accidentally transferred blood onto one of the cards. You start looking for something to wipe it off. But then you realize your fatal mistake.
Fatal mistake?
The killer didn't know that all faction cards other than those of the League of Boberin were drugged with a sleeping agent. But of course, it's only natural that your first thoughts in that situation would drift towards the party food or something of that nature. Everyone else, save for Mona and Eden, must have consumed something that I didn't. That assumption would prove to be the culprit's downfall.
Yes. This assumption meant that all they could muster was a smudge, before they were forced to rush back to their chair, barely setting their card in front of them before falling soundly asleep.
And suddenly, everything starts to make even more sense, doesn't it? The messy state of the crime scene, with very little attempt at a cover-up. This can all be explained by the killer not having full knowledge of the sleeping drug. Well, Pierce? Pierce, please explain yourself. Don't we at least deserve that much?
Pierce?
He's laughing?
You robots! You're not just clowns. You're the whole circus. How could I not laugh?
Just call the vote.
Pathetic! Is this what our candidacy has boiled down to? The presentation of pseudo-logical arguments retrieved from the deep abyss of one's own imagination, utterly lacking in reality. If this is truly what we have to offer the world, then perhaps all hope really is lost.
Pierce, regardless of what's happened so far or what's about to happen, I'll hear you out until the end. So please, if there's any flaws you'd like to point out, then I'd be happy to hear them.
Huh. Very well. I suppose your efforts have been somewhat impressive. You deserve at least this much, Nat John. Incredible effort, everyone! Really. What I'd be saying if it wasn't all so laughable. I go to great lengths to point out that all your evidence is circumstantial. And in response, you hit me with yet another assertion based on nothing but circumstantial evidence. How are you supposed to lead? No. How do you expect to succeed with such flimsy reasoning?
Pierce, would you please just get a grip? If you could see past your nose for one freaking second, you'd realize that while you were sitting there prattling on about our lack of evidence, we've built an unsurmountable case against you!
Don't think gaslighting me is going to work, Nat. How long must you all continue to live in your own reality? I gave you ample opportunity for rebuttal, dissected each of your arguments, and proved that not only are they all not decisive, not a single one points to me. And you latched, yet again, onto nothing but a spectacle. The killer didn't know about the sleeping drug and they fell asleep. Have you truly not noticed? This unfortunate killer of yours, who made such a grave mistake in the middle of their crime, could have been anyone. Only Eden and Mona had even an inkling of what was happening during the party. The fact that the killer made this mistake does not connect to me in any way. So tell me, how is this anything other than exculpatory?
You're wrong about that, Pierce. Yes, it's true that anyone could have made the same mistake the killer did. But that doesn't mean that just anyone could be the killer. Let's take the current logic to its rightful conclusion. The act of transferring blood onto the card sealed the killer's fate, because to leave blood on the card, part of the killer's hand would have had to be bloody. We know that they weren't able to clean it off, because a smudge was all they could muster for the cover-up. They literally fell asleep with blood on their hands, however little it would have been. Certainly a small enough amount to escape obvious detection. Still, that means there was a certain something the killer immediately had to do when they woke up, before anyone checked their fingers. right. The killer had to clean out the blood. You ran out of the room, feigning panic. And I distinctly remember that a certain someone went with you. Allow me to slice through your words! It can only be you! This whole incident started sometime before our party, which we held at Mona's request. Eden, who, for reasons unknown, had gone to investigate the labyrinth, ended up failing the elevator game. As a result, her personality was overwritten, transforming her into something quite different to the humanitarian psychic we had previously known. It was at that point that she decided to hatch a sadistic plan to commit murder, using the party itself as her stage. To this end, she consulted with Kilmore on a possible sleeping drug that could be absorbed through touch, which she planned to use at the party to facilitate the murder. While her plan would have left one other person conscious, the reason she set it up this way is purely a matter of speculation. The party itself started off innocently enough, with the whole group partaking in Wes's activities. However, when it came time to play the game of Mafia 2, everyone touched their cards to check their rolls. As the cards were laced with a sleeping drug, this simple act was enough to knock everyone out within seconds of the game starting. Everyone, that is, except for Eden, who had orchestrated this turn of events. Mona, who hadn't touched her card, and the Culprit, who was the other member of the evil League of Bobberin. Noticing that Mona was still awake, Eden sprang into action, stabbing Mona repeatedly with a knife she had prepared ahead of time. Though Mona would have tried to defend herself, Eden's element of surprise meant she clearly had the upper hand. However, because of all the noise, the Culprit decided to remove their blindfold, only to find a shocking scene unfolding before them. In a panic, they noticed Florence's pistol sticking out of her pocket, which they quickly grabbed and fired at Eden, with the intention of stopping Eden's ferocious assault. This enabled Mona to take Eden's knife and strike back at her with it. However, the damage had well and truly been done by this point, and both Mona and Eden perished from their wounds. As the Culprit started covering up their involvement in the crime, a certain detail eluded them. Specifically, that the cards themselves had been tainted with a sleeping drug. Thus, the moment they touched Mona's card, intending to swap it with their own, and transferring the blood onto the card they placed in front of Mona in the process, their fate was sealed. Yes, as far as crimes go, the overall sequence of events was relatively straightforward. The complexity lay in the lack of definitive evidence, which forced us into a loop of speculation that we only just barely escaped from. And the complicating factor, the blackened in this case, was you, Pierce, wasn't it?
Oh? Ahem! It seems the deliberations have concluded. When you're ready, please cast your votes by using the interface in front of yourselves. Will you make the right choice or the dreadfully wrong one? I can't wait to find out!
Wait, but didn't Comrade Eden and Comrade Mona still kill each other? Wouldn't that mean...
No!
What?
Just no! Are you seriously suggesting we should execute someone who is already dead? Gosh, Kids these days are so sheltered. Do I really need to explain what execution means?
But it feels like there'd be a precedent for it.
None whatsoever, I'm afraid. Especially not in the official series.
The what?
Nothing. Besides, I specifically told you this earlier about how priority would go to the living. Sheltered and willfully ignorant, your generation is truly the worst.
It's okay, everyone. Just do what you have to.
Pierce.
And the results are in! You are all correct! The one who murdered both Eden and Mona is none other than Pierce, the ultimate lawyer!
Did I hear that correctly?
Yes. Allow me to make one critical correction for the record. I did indeed kill them both.
It seems the motive had a hand to play in this after all.
You've got to be kidding me. Why, Pierce? Why did you also kill Mona? She was...
An easy target. When the game started, I checked my card like everyone else. In hindsight, my role only seemed fitting. And when Hunt asked for the League of Bobberin to awake, that's when I heard it. A series of thumps, one by one.
The sound of everyone slipping into unconsciousness.
Correct. My first instinct was to remove my blindfold to see what was happening, of course. But I did not. The thumping sounds continued before I began to realize what was happening. I don't know why, but I decided to play along.
So you also feigned unconsciousness. Interesting.
Something told me that it was the right move in the situation. And then, a noise pierced the eerie silence. The sounds of a commotion. Before I even had time to process what was happening, it had turned into an obvious life or death struggle. I will never forget those sounds. A blade punctuating flesh repeatedly. The screams. I could wait no longer. I tore my blindfold off, and that's when I finally saw it. Eden, without a shred of emotion in her eyes, clearly had the upper hand. She was stabbing Mona over and over. That's when I noticed Florence's gun sticking out of her pocket. Without thinking too much, I picked it up, pointed it at Eden, and pulled the trigger. It was a kill of convenience and nothing more. After all, I had no reason to shoot Mona, who was already mortally wounded. And if Eden checked that we were all unconscious, I would have been toast. To me, it didn't matter why Eden was doing this. I merely processed the situation before me and acted accordingly. But then, I heard it. Pierce. It was Mona calling for me. I walked up to her, gun still in hand.
Pierce.
Mona, I'm sorry things had to turn out this way.
Don't be. This wasn't your fault. I'm sorry to have to ask this of you, Pierce. But you have to kill me. This feeling. I know it better than anyone. When there's no coming back from death. This is my penance. You're the only person who can do this. The motive, Pierce. Don't you want some good to come out of this?
Some good, Mona? There's nothing good in this world.
Do you truly believe that? You have to get you out of here. She's our only hope. Claim the motive, Pierce, and do this for us. At the end of the day, we're all just pawns on the board, to be controlled, manipulated, but she's different. You have to get her out of here. Killing is easy. Just grab here.
I'm not doing this for you. Or for her.
If you think I care, then you're an idiot. But I guess that makes the two of us. I was so stupid. Just make sure you plunge it all the way in. Kilmore's condition is that it must be strong enough to cause death. The silent treatment never really suited you. I don't feel any regret at all. I've fulfilled my purpose, just like I said I would. What reason is there to be sad?
So, now you see it, don't you? The truth that you were so desperate for. In the end, both Mona and Eden died for nothing. Because I failed. The world looks up to ultimates like me. And still, I failed! Such a society where faith can be so easily placed on the shoulders of the undeserving is not one worth returning to.
Sir, the task she gave you was beyond unreasonable. Not only to kill her, but also to try and cover up your crimes? For what? An explanation that was vague at best. No sane person would ask someone to work against their friends like that.
And still, I tried.
Just then, you said that such a society is not one worth returning to.
The first lucky person to kill 2 people will be allowed to choose to escape with someone else. 2 escapees in total.
The wording.
I'm a lawyer, Grace, so the loophole stuck out to me like a sore thumb.
Pierce!
I confirmed it with Kilmore after Mona had passed. His deliberate choice to emphasize that there would be 2 escapees in total, the modality in will be allowed to choose. Why not simply say, must choose someone else to escape with, or they and someone else of their choosing will escape? No. In reality, the wording was a hint. I was allowed to choose someone else to escape with, of course, but that wasn't my only option.
You don't mean... But is that even allowed? What would be the point of successfully getting away with murder if you'd still be executed?
I checked it with Kilmore. He confirmed that the spirit of the motive was ultimately to allow the benefit of your crime to flow to someone else. It did not matter if it was to 1 or 2 people.
Pierce, you... But why?
As I'm sure you're aware by this point, I haven't been entirely honest. Did you think you were the only one to weaponize the appearance of ignorance? Underestimating your opponent merely serves to amplify their strengths. Playing the buffoon was a small price to pay. Don't look at me like that. The Pierce that you knew died the moment he took the lives of 2 people.
No, he didn't. That Pierce went above and beyond to pull me out of a dark place.
I fail to see the relevance at this moment.
Once the mask falls, Pierce, it never really fits again. You and I both know who your second escapee would have been. The question is, why?
And who might that have been?
It was me, wasn't it?
Bravo!
Pierce.
But do not misunderstand my intent. I had my reasons, of course, but it was mainly pragmatism. Mona may have thought Miyu was our last hope, but to me, someone who has spent time analyzing each and every single person here from the moment we were kidnapped, if anyone should have joined Miyu, it had to be you.
So from the very start, you were guaranteed a satisfactory outcome.
What? How did it get to this stage? Did the rest of us really mean nothing to you?
Wes and Vivian's words aren't just for show. The sheer scale of what we need to do. It really is all or nothing. That's what I learned from my dream last night.
Did you remember something?
The feeling of ending someone's life is not a foreign concept to me. I was warned, but I ignored it. Because the things that were being described to me sounded so unbelievable, so distant. But when I pulled the trigger, it all came flooding back. I now know why we had our memories taken. Because some of us might not have been able to live with what we'd done, at least not without context. And that, as well, would have been inconvenient to the mastermind.
Please, explain yourself, Pierce. What did we do? We deserve to know.
Do you think our hands are clean? To save a corrupt and rotten world? Ask yourself, what do you think one must become? That's why I meant exactly what I said, Natalia. The Pierce you knew is gone. The front that he put on went deeper than even he could have expected. Right now, whether we live or die, I think that no longer matters. You may have survived for now, but you and I both know that you're going to be back down here before long. Who knows what will happen next time, and then the next? And that's even before you so much as see the outside world again. Tell me, Natalia, would the Pierce you knew, would he have been capable of this? Do not rehabilitate my image. It will only hurt you in the long run. And to everyone else, I ask you, is all of this really, truly worth it? Because if you don't have the stomach for this, then perhaps death really is the better escape.
And that's enough of that! I hope you haven't forgotten what time it is!
Fuck you, Kilmore.
Demonetized! Anyway, would you quit stalling already? It's not going to make the punishment any easier!
Pierce? You can't!
It looks like my time has run out. With Nat taking charge, this outcome is hardly a surprise. But I fear it may already be too late. Even when all of us were alive, we were being pushed to our very limits. You may have caught a break for now, but peace is fleeting. So please, just remember, there's no shame in quitting.
Let's give it everything we've got! It's punishment time!
regardless of his thoughts about our situation. I'm sure he was thinking about what was best for you, Natalia. Comrade to comrade.
I don't understand.
I'm sure you're just saying it, Natalia. But just in case, even if you don't understand now, you will with time. Just some friendly advice from a top-notch secretary.
Something about his words made me feel uneasy. What do you think he meant when he talked about our unclean hands?
I really hope this is not the case, but I suspect that some of us may have already committed horrific acts in the name of our vision. Acts which even murder couldn't hold a candle to.
I suspect it's just like Pierce said. The total discipline of self, and something well beyond just the veneer of cooperation. These are the ingredients to our success. We were wrong to think that our vision of deep-seated structural change could be achieved through anything less than total chaos.
Chaos that we apparently had a hand in.
Well, it goes without saying, doesn't it?
It was a test.
Pardon, comrade.
That's what the purpose of the trial was. Wherever the chips fell, he would have been satisfied with the outcome. It was a benchmark. His way of saying that we couldn't get through this as a bare minimum, and all was lost anyway.
And we just barely passed.
So, Miyu, when are you gonna spill the beans?
Pardon?
First of all, why didn't you tell us about what you saw Pierce doing?
It seemed like an innocent gesture at the time. When I arrived, all I noticed was that he was washing his hands. Whatever blood that had existed before was already gone.
But he had no way of knowing how long you were there.
Moreover, he turned to me and asked me to forget that I saw him there. And for some reason, my intuition drive pushed me to oblige. With no other context, that's the course of action I decided to proceed with. Strange, isn't it? I've always held it up as a reliable guide for how to behave. And yet, obeying it in this case was simply selfish. With the power of hindsight, we know that one of Pierce's planned outcomes would have involved honoring Mona's request and invoking the motive to allow my escape.
Speaking from person to person, Miyu, I don't think there's any shame in feeling a sense of self-preservation. I suspect that may have been what manifested through your drive.
Maybe.
And that's not all. Mona clearly thought you were important enough to save.
They were roommates, after all. Perhaps that was the source of her affection?
No, it went clearly beyond that. She called you our only hope, didn't she?
You have to remember that that was only Pierce's recollection of the events. The exact wording may have been different.
But if there's one thing I'd trust from the ultimate lawyer, it'd be his memory. Besides, that hardly seems like the sort of phrase you just casually forget.
It brings me no pleasure to say this, but I really don't know what Mona could have meant. We never discussed anything of the sort.
Perhaps she simply didn't have time?
Or it's the sort of discovery that she couldn't tell you.
Mysteries on top of mysteries. It seems we're still far away from the stage where the excitement can begin to die down.
I don't know about everyone else, but I think I've had enough excitement to last at least another week.
Just a week?
Still, the developments here were very troubling, to say the least.
It would be nothing short of journalistic malpractice to not hunt down every lead and uncover every detail, all for the sake of giving the audience the complete story. We owe it to ourselves and to everyone who died to proceed with this goal in mind.
And then there's still the matter of the traitor.
They seem to have taken a back seat here, and fair play to them. I don't think they really needed to do much to bring about this tragedy, but them too. I look forward to uncovering how their role in this connects with everything else we are seeking.
About that, something's been bothering me. There's still some unanswered questions. Mona, she seems so sincere about her purpose, about ensuring our batch succeeds. Why did she bring up the motive during her dying breaths?
Natalia, try putting yourself in her shoes. For whatever reason, you believe that Miyu is the most important of us all. You know the motive allows for 2 escapees, yet you don't know Pierce's motivations. What would you have done? I believe Mona was placing her faith in us to find the truth, but also signaling that no matter what, we must strive to defend Miyu.
Moreover, why did Eden play the game in the first place? And how did she fail? She, of all people, should have known how to make it through the game.
You mean to suggest that, even in this case, the traitor may have had a hand?
Not just that, but I also find it hard to believe that the traitor wouldn't have known what was going on. Between Eden, Mona, and Pierce, I mean. Could the traitor really have been so oblivious? To the extent that they may have been killed, had Mona and then Pierce not intervened? What if they'd gotten the other evil card, and Mona didn't intercept Eden?
What is it you're proposing exactly?
Avoiding Eden's trap was merely a matter of not touching their own card. Then, they could have later disguised this by touching their card after the fact. What they could have achieved by doing this, I can't really say. In fact, I've got no evidence to prove my theory. But it's not something I can rule out. It just feels strange that the traitor wouldn't have been involved in some capacity here. But otherwise, none of this takes away from the fact that we've just survived another trial. And Grace, your comment on Mona, I agree that sometimes a little empathy goes a long way.
Seems we're in the clear for now. We should get out of here first and celebrate.
I don't think a celebration is appropriate. In fact, I feel that things will only continue to get harder from this point on. But it's true that we all survived by working together. And I do agree with the part about getting out of here.
But of course. Please, do lead the way, Natalia.
You should know the way out yourself.